of challenges. Join Joel Lewis as he interviews successful entrepreneur dads sharing how they made it work from the start. This is Startup Dad HQ.
Hey, welcome to Startup Dad Headquarters, where we're exploring the intersection between fatherhood, entrepreneurship, and life. And today, Startup Dads, I'm really excited to have on the show David Thompson. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different that I usually don't do, but I'm going to read David's full bio. David sent me this awesome bio, and I think it really speaks, as I was reading it, it really speaks to the heart of what Startup Dad is all about. So I want to share this bio with you guys. So I hope you indulge me as I spend hopefully I don't spend too long reading through this, but I think you guys will definitely resonate with it. So David says, I was brought up to walk up the corporate ladder to achieve success. So of course I did. I spent 10 years working very closely with one successful entrepreneur within his company, and I did climb the corporate ladder and did achieve much success. But what is successful by the world's standards is not success by my standards. And I know a lot of startup dads feel exactly the same way. My definition of success is freedom with responsibility. So 4 years ago, 6 years within the climb, as my second child was born, I realized that I didn't want to commute 2 hours a day to make an above average wage. I believe that I could do that myself by living out my God-given purpose and passion. Absolutely love that. Which David's passion is financial advising. So after putting it off for 2 years, I took pen to paper 2 years ago, wrote out what success was to me, took a class to help me understand my purpose and how to attain it, and then made a plan to make it all happen. And last October, I left a very stable career in human resources to help people attain financial happiness. Now, once leaving that salary and stable environment, I wish I could say it was a smooth sailing. But as you know, living out your purpose is a curved road of learning, not a straight and narrow, easy ride. I'll save that story for another time. So David has 4 kids, 2 of his own and 2 foster children, which also adds to David's story and the complexity. And I can't wait to get into all of that. When I began my mental journey of entrepreneurism, we had just had our second child, and fostering other children wasn't even on our radar. But what a blessing they have been to us. There are many lessons that those two kids have taught us, and vice versa. I've also enjoyed that throughout that process. My kids have witnessed the journey. They are 5 and 7 now. One of my goals is to raise children that think for themselves and hopefully entrepreneurs. They've witnessed the late night, the phone calls during dinner, all the hard works, the ups, the downs, the victories, and, of course, the defeats along the journey. And today, my business is beginning to take off, and I'm excited to see where God takes us. But one of the greatest assets in this lifestyle has been the ability to take and pick up my kids from daycare instead of dropping them off at daycare at 7 a.m. and not seeing them until 6 p.m. Dads, I know this resonates with you guys because it resonates with me deeply. To me, I'm already living a good life, and 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, life gets better. The wife quits her full-time job, etc. Wow. David, I absolutely love your bio. It's definitely longer than what I'm used to. Usually I cut it down like I mentioned, but I'm really excited. Reading through your bio, I said I got to share this entire bio with the Startup Dad community. For those who are still listening on the broadcast, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully that story resonated with you. So David, welcome to Startup Dad Headquarters. We're really, really excited to have you on.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so I shared with the audience a little bit about, well, a lot about you. So please take a second. Let us know more from the business standpoint. What do you have going on right now? What's really exciting you about your business now that you've taken the leap?
What's exciting right now for me is all of the plans, all of the goals, all of the action that I've put in. It's finally starting to pay off, and having the ability to sit down with people is just an amazing thing in and of itself. But when you talk in the realm of lead generation systems and all that type of stuff, word of mouth and referral is always the best marketing tool. And as of late, I've begun to see organic referrals coming in that I'm not pushing for, I'm not asking for, and so my business is building actually at a rate higher than I'm maybe ready for, but I'm not gonna cut it off. I'm just gonna keep going, man.
Right. Awesome. So the rates of referrals and clients is actually getting to a point where you've reached your maximum that you could do on your own. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty soon I'm gonna have to add someone into the mix. Hopefully that's my wife, but maybe it's a service. But yeah, it's an incredible problem to have, to say that I might not be able to see all the people that I want to see, within a couple of weeks spectrum. So it's good.
Yeah, that's definitely a great problem to have, and I know you'll be able to figure it out, get some contractors or something in the meantime,
Yeah.
and then hopefully, like you said in the bio, you could add your wife to the mix, and you guys could take over the world with financial advising.
Hope so.
Awesome. So, David, before we dive deep into the early stages of your startup dad journey, we have to take care of some important business. And I like to kick off the first segment of our show with this quote, which goes, "No other success can compensate for failure in the home." Would you agree, David?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. With that said, I want to bring up the family fun photo that you submitted. And I don't do this often, and I probably should. I have to make it a habit. Startup Dads on the website with the show notes for this episode. I can't tell you the episode number yet, but as you're listening to this, the episode number that I mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you go to startupdadhq.com/the number, then you'll be able to see the show notes as well as the images. Sometimes I'm a little bit off with the show notes. I release them a couple of days after the episode, but if you swing back around to the website, you'll be able to check out the photo and everything that we have going on for this episode. So definitely head on over there. So David, let's bring up the family fun photo, and let's take some time, share with us who's in the photo, what's going on in the picture, and share with us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, absolutely. So myself, of course, David Thompson. My wife is Alana Thompson, and she is currently in the banking system, corporate America. She's a branch manager. She started as a teller 10 years ago, so she's herself. She's a business brain as well. And then Makeda is she's actually 8 now. She just turned 8, and she is, I think she's going to be the mini-me. She's the entrepreneur spirit. She is a salesman. She gets me. And I don't mean she understands me. I mean, she tricks me into things. Next thing I know, we're going to Brahms, and I already said no to Brahms 4 times, Right. And then the younger one is 5. Her name is Jennifer, and she is your free spirit. That picture captures her pretty well. She's free spirit. She just loves the world. She's going to be the big heart, and we'll just have to teach her how to use that for her own good. So, but yeah. That's a family. And then we have 2 foster kids right now, and going through the process, and we really kind of feel led by the Lord that if the opportunity presents itself, that we'll definitely keep them and adopt them. And we've had them almost a year already, and so they are very much part of the family. So it's good family.
Yeah, definitely, and you could definitely see, like you said, and this is why I love, bringing up these pictures, and hopefully the startup dads are going and checking them out, because I think this is where it makes a connection between you and the audience, and you can see the attitudes and the personalities of the girls coming out through the images, so which is
So
awesome. Now, I know you have the foster children, and we can't talk too much about them. I had a past guest, Efton Giri, who was in a similar situation. He's now, fortunately, was able to adopt 3 out of the 4. There's still one more that they're the youngest one that they're still working on, and hopefully they could get. But can you share the ages at all or anything like that, or no?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the younger one is 6 months now. We got him straight from the hospital when he was a couple of weeks old. So he's been with us since birth, and um, lovely kid. He loves to get up 3 or 4 times during the night. So you got that whole thing going on. The other one is well, she'll be 3 in a month, and we got her when she was 2. She's been with us about a year. They're siblings, brother and sister, and they're just, I mean, they're lovely kids. We're glad to have them. We do get looks because these 2 kids are African American, and we're your standard white family, and so it's interesting when we go into to stores and things, and we corrected them just like we correct our own children and vice versa.
Right.
And you get the looks and the is this kid yours and all that stuff.
Right.
But it's good. Honestly, it gives us an opportunity to tell them what's going on and what we're about, and creates communication lines. So it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're dealing with an 8-year-old, 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 6-month-old,
I
right?
am. I
Wow, that's crazy,
yeah,
crazy. Because yeah, you have the 8-year-old who's kind of self-sufficient almost, for the
yeah,
most part. A couple of things, maybe a little help needed there.
yeah,
5-year-old still needs some hands-on. 3-year-old, I mean, that's essentially still diapers, depending on what your
yep,
situation is, or at least nighttime diapers. And
yep,
then the 6-month-old is, you're sleeping whenever you could get sleep. So,
yeah, yeah.
so you got the full range there. So you are very busy. Tell me, how are you balancing everything you have going on? Fortunately, well, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but tell us, how are you balancing everything you got going on?
Um, family comes first, business comes second, and sleep comes whenever it comes, I guess. And so we spend a lot of time just I don't know. I just keep my priorities in order, and so when the family's here, it's all about the family, and I kind of turn the business off per se. And as soon as they go to bed, man, it's back on. As soon as they go to school, it's back on. Um, it's been a pretty interesting transition going from um, corporate America or any job where you have an employer to doing your own thing, because you
Hmm.
do have the freedom to work, not work, whatever you want. And but we've been able to find a groove that works for us, and just keep it rolling.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, David, there's some kind of banging or something I hear like periodically. It sounds like
Okay.
something hitting your desk maybe or something.
It's probably it's probably me. All
Uh,
right, I got you.
Hitting your hands.
Yeah.
No problem. That's why you always see my hands like all up in the air like this, so I don't so I don't hit the desk. Because
uh,
I would do the same thing. So no problems. I could edit most of it out. So
that's
no
fine.
worries. Cool. So yeah, that's so family. You said family first. Uh, I think you said family first. What was the second? I'm sorry, I missed the second part.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Family first, business second, and
Business second,
sleep
sleep.
sleep whenever it comes.
Right, right. Yeah, I love that. And you know, most startup dads and dads who are looking to become startup dads, what you said in terms of when the kids are there, it's family. When
Yeah,
they're napping, it's business. When they're sleeping at night, it's business. But whenever they're around, you're spending time with them and trying to be, try and be as engaged and involved as possible. Now, you're also working from home, correct?
Yeah. Most of my work is from home, and then appointments are at the office or at people's house, coffee shops, wherever. So very
Okay.
mobile.
All right, cool. We definitely want to get into that in the next segment and talk a little bit about how you're working all that
Okay.
into it. So before we do, another question in this segment is what does fatherhood mean to you? It's obviously very important to you for you to want to adopt,
Yeah.
2 more kids, right? Because
Yeah.
when you have two, a friend of mine told me when you have 2 kids, you could kind of tag team. But then what man to man, right? When you have one, you
Yeah.
can tag team. 2, you kind of do a man to man. But once you go to 3, you're in zone. I don't know what 4 means. I don't know what.
You know what? 4 means good luck. That's what 4 means. But yeah, man, I love that. I love basketball. It's very much a basketball reference. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, one is easy. Well, looking back, 1 is easy.
Right.
2, you got 2 hands, so you can grab them.
Right.
When you go to 3, it's zone. It's you got 2 on the kids, and then you're like trying to kick the other one or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when it's 4, in our case, it's the 4th is usually the baby crying over in the corner. And it's like, okay, you guys sit down and eat. I'm gonna go deal with this one.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just juggling.
Yeah. 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 So what does fatherhood mean to you?
Fatherhood, I grew up in a good home and very, middle class America, normal as far as I'm concerned, normal upbringing, and fatherhood to me means the opportunity to, somewhat pay it forward, take what I've learned through my parents, take what I've learned through business, and in my own life, and just try and instill the values and the things that I would like to see reciprocated in their lives. And to be very honest, entrepreneur, the mentality, I really want them to see that, and I want them to have it. And even if you get into the corporate world, you can still use that stuff.
Right.
But that's what it means to me is just instilling all the things that I feel they need to have, to have a good life for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. And how much if would you say are you for them to to get a sense of what you're working on, and you mentioned in the bio they're seeing the ups and downs and stuff like that. With your 8-year-old, I guess more specifically, how much are
Yeah.
you involving her in what you're doing? Like, how much are you kind of showing her, hey, here's what dad is doing and stuff like that?
I've showed her on purpose, and I've showed her just in my actions. So, and what I mean by that is, there are a lot of nights when they go to bed at 8, and that's when I turn it back on, and I'm on the couch, and my couch is my office, by the way. So I'm on the couch, and I'm either reading a book, or studying for a certification, or studying, the latest notes in the industry, or talking to prospective clients, or game planning, whatever. Just kind of doing it, and she'll come in, and she's very inquisitive,
Hmm.
and so really, without me having to like pull her hand and show her things, she wants to know what dad's doing, and I know she's paying attention because it's really led to a lot of different heavy, really, conversations
Mm.
on the car ride home from school and things like that. And I'll talk about a client that I'm going to meet with tomorrow. This is like 9 o'clock at night, and I'm going to meet with him tomorrow morning, and just pray that it goes well or whatever.
Mm.
And first question out of her mouth in the car, man, she's like, "So did you meet with that person? Are they happy? Did you show them value?" Because I say that a lot. We have to show people value, and
Right.
I kind of actually use it for school, and you have to be a good friend to a person in order for them to be your friend. But anyway, so yeah, with her, I don't really have to do much, which is good.
Hmm.
But she's naturally inquisitive. She wants to know what dad's doing, and I think she's going to catch on to this stuff. So
Awesome. Awesome. So, David, before we jump into our next segment, we have to get down to some important, well, to an important question. Besides throwing out the trash, what's one way you help out around the house that is not traditionally done by the man of the house?
Uh, I've thought about this. I actually talked to my wife. I was like, I know he's going to ask this. I, I don't know what to say. Um, you know, her response, I don't know if it's fitting or not, but I'm going to tell you what we decided together. um, I pick up the kids from school. We come home. We do homework. I prep dinner. She cooks, but I prep dinner. Um, we change diapers. We pick up the little ones from daycare, and then 5 o'clock, mom comes home. So I don't know many guys that get to really, but that do those type things, and
Yeah.
hopefully there are, right? But I definitely think I'm gonna. Those are things that I don't. Most dads maybe don't do, but that I do all the other stuff too. I do take out the trash and all,
Right.
all that fun stuff. But
Right. Right. Remove all the snow you're getting and all that stuff, right?
right.
Nice. Yeah, no, definitely you are definitely in a league of your own. It is I see a trend, right? And dads are definitely starting to get more involved and more engaged. And that's really, what I'm trying to showcase and highlight with Startup Dad Headquarters, not just the entrepreneur piece of things, but also the fatherhood piece where, a lot of moms are working now. So dads have to step it up, get in
Yeah.
there and get their hands dirty, right? So
Yeah. I like what you're doing, man. It's really good.
thank you, thank you. So the next segment on our show is called the True Startup Dad Story, and with this being Startup Dad Headquarters, we want to start and focus. We want to focus on your start. So one of my favorite quotes is, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." So David, please take us back to the beginning and share with us the initial steps of your Startup Dad journey.
Sure. Yeah, so it started for me. There was actually a class that our church put on. It was more like a workshop. It was like a 6 week, 1 hour type workshop, more or less. It's actually called Life Vision, and
Hmm.
um, it's basically you sit in a room and it's just like going to a workshop or a seminar. You go through a process wherein it's basically seeking your purpose. A lot of people have an idea of what their purpose is. Some people have no clue, and so I went through this process and through different uh, exercises, drawing pictures and talking to people and uh, answering questions is kind of a pretty cool thing. But at the end of it, it was very obvious that my purpose on this planet, in my opinion, is to help people. So a lot of people have that. So how do I best help people? I believe that I best help people by helping them understand, plan, uh, any mixture of things, but in finances, personal finances, business finances, whatever it is. But I help people by helping them game plan, prepare for the future, prepare for the present in their personal finances. So with that in mind, that was halfway through it, and I actually thought we were done with the class, and so the last 15 minutes of the last class, she's like, all right, so what are you guys going to do now? We were all like, oh, I kind of thought we were going to get off the hook here. But it planted this ginormous seed in my head, and then actually looked up the date. It was October of 2013.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so ironically enough, October 2014, I'll fill in the gap, but a full year later is when I took the leap, more or less. And but during that time period, I basically put together a plan. I started with goals, what I wanted to ultimately achieve, which was get the wife at home, and honestly just have a better family scenario, and in the process do what I enjoy, um, And so game plan, put together lists, goals, processes, how I was going to get there, and things like that, and then created a website, created a business name, and all that. And
Hmm.
that stuff takes a lot longer than it sounds, right?
Right.
Um, uh, Podcast is actually on my list, but we're not.
Nice.
We'll get there. Um, so anyway, so fast forward literally about a year, and October 2014, and I left the company. I left a very severely stable career.
Uh,
Not only career, but within that company. It was a good company. It was run well. I still, to this day, have lots of friends in that company. I left, man, and it was a pretty good, high-paying job, and with a bonus, with all kinds of mess,
yeah.
good health care, all that stuff. I took the jump, and of course, during the preceding 6 months, as soon as I started putting game plans together, I started linking myself out with mentors, with different people that honestly I felt would need my help in the future. You know, I would see people that are getting engaged. That is a hot spot, man. They need help. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so people have kids. Like any life change equals you need some help. You know,
Right. Right.
guidance, that sort of thing. So I started linking myself and connecting and getting in with groups. Mentor groups, entrepreneur groups, but also just any group that I felt I could be of service, you know. And then
Hmm.
I made the jump, and relatively speaking, it's only been 6 months. I
Right.
will tell you this, man. 6 months ago, I wouldn't imagine that I would be sitting here, A, being interviewed on a podcast, but B, being faced with 6 months in, and I might need some help already,
Right.
which is a crazy thing. So, but to me, it's a testament to find your passion, find your purpose, game plan, and just do it, man. And you're going to encounter obstacles, and you just have to work around them and keep moving forward. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
long answer.
No, that's perfect. And I always look for the kind of like the summary answer, which what you just gave us, and then
Okay.
want to take a couple of steps back, obviously, to dive in a little bit deeper. So, 2013, October 2013, you're working for this fantastic company. You were with them for at this point, you're with them for 6 years. Is that no?
Yeah.
Uh,
Actually, nine. There was a changed names more or less, but that was at basically ninth year.
Ninth, okay, ninth year, and you obviously have a lot going on with the children. They're all in the picture, and you take this course through your church, which then before taking the course, did you ever have any idea, or did you ever think about going down the entrepreneur path at all?
I had seen it, but I would say that it was more of a risk than a reward.
Mm,
And I had paid attention enough to see people go through it and fail, and it's scared the crap out of me, to be honest. But at the end of the day, if you're going to place a bet, better to bet on yourself than anything else. So
yeah, absolutely. So you went through that course, and then at the end, it sounded like you had clarity, right? At least
yes,
you knew what your passion was, you knew what your purpose was, and
absolutely.
now it was a matter of figuring out how do I take action on this? How do I create this thing? And
Yes.
I love the fact that you mentioned creating the website, the business name, and all that kind of stuff takes a lot longer than what you would expect. Obviously, if you have tons of money, you could just throw the money at a web developer, and even I've had friends who try to do that route too, and they don't end up with the best website and stuff like
Yep.
that. So Yeah. So how long did that process take? If you can remember back that far.
I would say roughly, um, you know, 4 months, and it was kind of a slow process. It probably took longer than it should have, but it was really like I would create this shell of a website, and then I would trash it because it was awful, you know. And I did it over and over, and then I finally found basically a platform that I liked, and then just kind of built it out. Learned a whole lot during the process, but people act like, and I'm sure for some people it does take a couple days. For the normal dude on the street, man,
Hmm.
it does not take a couple days. It takes several weeks if you're lucky, or in my case, it really took 4 months for me to consider it done and good for now.
Right, right. For now, yeah, that's important. It's not perfect, but it's good enough to get what you need done. What would you say was one of the big lessons that you learned during that 4 month? Like, if you had to take that, if you could take that 4 months back, like, what would you do different in that time frame?
Well, certainly, if I had the money, I would just hire someone else to do it. But like you said, I've heard stories where that doesn't pan out either, and
Right.
then you've wasted a lot of money and time, and then you're on your own as well. But goodness, if I could do that all over again, I would say that during my time of gaining clarity and purpose and connecting with people, I would have also tried to learn the basics of how to create a website, but not just a website. It really needs to be a source where you can, in my case, create a blog and press a button and it shoots out to the whole planet.
Right.
Um, and just make it convenient. So
Yeah.
I would have spent a lot more time pre-planning, more or less, but
Yeah.
oh well, whatever.
Yeah. No, it's all part of the journey, and the journey of the 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Yeah.
And I think 4 months is it seems like a lot of time, but I think that's actually I think that's pretty good. I checked out your website, and it looks really good.
Thank you.
And if you're like me, who didn't really have a lot of website knowledge and creating a website, uh, we try to do the best that you can. And when I took a look at your website and look at the different pages, you have some really nice images. It flows well. It uploads really quickly. So I think you did a great
Awesome.
job. Yeah, because on the top of that, right, you had to figure out what you want to do for your business name, and you ended up
Yeah,
deciding you branded yourself, right? You ended up
I
going with,
did.
which is cool. But you got to figure out the hosting, the GoDaddy, the Bluehost, whatever else, all that other stuff. So to do that in 4 months, I think is awesome. I think it's
Yeah,
awesome.
thank
So
you.
yeah, so now you got the website going. How did you do any validation? Like, how did you figure out this is the right business? Who are going to be the people that I'm going to target? And it sounds like you have clarity on that now, right? You said I love that you said whatever a major life transition equals, you need help. So
Yeah,
yeah, and that's so
yeah,
true. That is so true.
yeah. It's real easy to sit as an experienced person, which I don't even consider myself. But what I've learned in the last 6 months
Mhm.
is, man, just a huge deal of knowledge versus what I knew walking into it. Which, when I walked into, I guess you could say I walked into the industry. I mean, I've had a lot of success with our own finances, and I've helped friends and family just very much on the side,
Mhm.
which I guess was my testing platform. But um, you know, I really aimed at, from day one. It was anybody that needed my help, right? This is very broad, and I quickly found out that there are going to be a certain, I guess they call it your target audience.
Mhm.
Um, but for me, my target audience is, I think, in the same spectrum of age that I am at, just because I think I can relate better to them.
Mhm.
Uh, People that have still kids in the house, on down, from, I call them kids now, but, I was that not too long ago. But, you know, uh, gentleman that comes and says, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting married," as early as that, I would say, to kids are leaving the house, and what do we do from here? So that's kind of been my. It's pretty broad still, but it's been my focus so far.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's still broad, like you said, but I think the fact that you've identified that here are the key points where people start to think about these things, right? Because
Yes.
within that range, from the time you get married to the time that your kids are leaving, yeah, you're probably thinking about financial stuff periodically here and there, like I need help with my finances. But for sure, when you're getting married, you're thinking about it. For sure, when
Oh
you have
yeah.
kids, we went and we tried to figure out, the college education,
Yeah.
right? Because at some point you have to start planning for that 529 and all that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
and it's just like y- just like we're starting the business, finances for me, like my head starts to spin. It's like there's so much stuff to try to figure out, and it's like, man, I just want to just pay someone to tell
Yeah.
me what to do, as opposed to trying to figure this thing out myself, because there's so many pieces to it.
Yeah. And I think from my side of the fence, there are really a lot of good financial advisors, but I believe that you have to find one that you connect with, that you feel comfortable with.
Mhm.
Um, and from my side of the fence, gaining the trust of a person, which doesn't take much. It just takes having their best interest at heart,
Mhm.
and putting that on the table where they see that, and from that point on, it's pretty easy going. But
Yeah.
breaking through that wall that most people have,
Yeah.
um, but it's slowly getting easier, so it's good.
Right. Now, how do you, again, going back to the target audience, how do you differentiate, or how do you find, because there's one thing that I'm going through a life change, and I know that my finances are not the best, but there's also the other piece of, I have to spend money to actually save money or create money. I have to spend money to pay a financial advisor to
Mhm.
actually fix my money situations. I have money situations. So how do you wrap, how do you, how do you find those individuals? Because there's some people who get it. Like we have a financial advisor, and
Yeah,
we get that we don't know everything, and we don't want to take the time to figure out everything.
right.
How do you differentiate between those individuals and the folks that can't get it, that you have to spend the money to save the money or generate the money?
Um, if I understand your question correct, um, you know, spend money to get is all about investment. And so, if I give you, um, let's just use a podcast as an example. So, if I pay you $100 to do this interview and do the podcast, the advertising that it should net me on the flip side should be, forever, an amazing amount above $100.
Right.
And so for some people, you just have to approach it and show them in that realm. They'll sit down and say, "But I don't have $100."
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you can scrape together $100, we can turn that into 1,000 in a couple of this amount of period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, for others, there are products that we have where we really get paid on the back end, and so it's showing value. And here's a good, uh, if you have whatever amount of money your situation is, or a lot of people just have 401k plans from employers um, that they leave the employer, and then they don't have the knowledge of what to do with it. And let's be honest, your employer that you're leaving is not going to sit down with you and go, "Here's what you should do." They
Right.
do not. They don't care at that point. So, um, but that's kind of getting back into the life change. So those things happen, and you have to have someone in your back pocket that you feel comfortable with um, to talk about. And on those type of situations, like a rollover 401k, there's really no money exchanging hands for us. We're just taking your money from where it is into a different spectrum.
Right.
It's still 401k actually.
Right.
You can still contribute to it pre-tax. But it's your money. No money exchanges hands. You don't pay us for that sit down, but we get paid on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a win-win for both sides.
Gotcha. Cool. So there's a powerful quote by Will Smith which goes, just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide, and then from that point, the universe is going to get out of your way. Can you share with us, how did you finally make the decision, right? You went through the course. My next question is going to be how the discussion went with your wife to make this leap. But how did you finally make that decision, which is like probably the hardest part, one of the hardest steps is like, all right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to take the leap. So share with us how you did that.
It's the committal that is the hardest point, because for anyone, and for myself included, committing to it means I have to do it. There's no back door, or for me, once I make the jump, there is no, okay, it didn't work out, I'm gonna go back to corporate America.
Failure is not an option.
It's really not, man. So how did I get to that point? Really just through careful planning, and I observed it as an investment of myself, an investment of my money, and investment of my time. What was I going to get from that? Well, what I was going to gain from that is, in a short amount of time, which should be 2 years or less, my family situation is 1 million times better, meaning that the wife gets to come home. We are able to adopt these 2 kids or continue that, in a different fostering system, and possibly even take on more kids, which didn't plan, but that came up just a couple days ago. We're sitting down for dinner, and she's like, we could add 1 or 2 more, and I'm like, what? But just so the gain from all this stuff is just the ability to have those options and to have a better life for yourself. But there's a financial side too, and so what I really felt like I had to have a budget, a budget of what I was going to spend to create the website, to get the hosting, to do networking, to do advertising, and read a couple books about how to do those things efficiently. Went to a couple workshops, how to do advertising, grassroots mostly, and so at the end of the day, for me, it felt like the amount of money that I was willing to put out, I had it in cash, and B, I felt like I would get it back within the first year. And I did not expect to break even at month 5.
Wow.
I broke even at month 5, and part of that is because I didn't really go into a tremendous amount of debt on the front end because of the way that I've chosen to do this. And so yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that.
Man, I mean, it makes sense, right? You're a financial advisor, so you know how to plan. So sounds like you had a really good structured plan. You took a year to create the plan, as well as part of the year also included creating the website and stuff like that too, right? But but you took some time to really create your plan, figure out what does the finances need to look like, and what's going to be my return on investment, which is awesome. And I think definitely dads who are in the position, who are working right now, take the time, create your plan while you're working, while you got the biweekly paycheck coming in. Yeah, create a solid plan, and then figure out when you're going to take your leap. So, yeah, that's awesome. Now, how did you approach the subject with your wife, though?
Well, it's always a juggling act of sorts. But um, we, I would say that maybe our situation is a little different because this life vision class that I was talking about, guess
Hmm.
what? We took it together.
Nice.
And so as I was drawing weird pictures about, helping people, and then I had, money in the mix and this sort of thing. She had pictures of helping people, but she drew a larger family. She drew,
Mm.
uh, and we talked about, things of that nature. And so the leader in the class actually helped us, and she was like, your purpose might be to support David in his efforts, which honestly, it would be amazing. And we're still getting there, but and so that really kind of gave us something to go home and talk about, and so that's actually how it happened, which I'm sure is not the norm, but
Right. Right. Yeah, that sounds like the perfect situation, like the perfect scenario for everything to kind of, lead from that course right into a good discussion at home,
Mhm.
and obviously to help to grow the family, you need more of that income coming in.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's perfect. So we're now going into the next segment of the show. This is where we go deep, and the segment is called Real Dads Real Talk, and this is where we go deep, and I ask a series of tough questions that we can't skip over. We also like to start to pick up the pace here because I know you have to go pick up your kids from school, and mine not from school, from your grandmother's house, and then
Hmm.
my kids are about to wake up from nap. So we want to start to pick up the pace here, and
Yeah,
so that we can let you go. So are you ready to dive in?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. So we haven't talked about doubts and fears yet. Maybe we talked about it a little bit, but share with us some doubts and fears that you have, specifically from a perspective as a father and a provider. What is one of the biggest doubts or fears that you face, and how do you overcome that?
Uh, no doubt. Fear number one is not providing. Is to create something, to step out, to take a risk, be an entrepreneur, or call yourself an entrepreneur, and then fail. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, failure is doing all these things, spending all this time and effort and energy. And I'm pretty sure that all of us that listen to your podcast, and all of us that call ourselves entrepreneurs, that is, well, that's probably on the top list of fears.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, how do you overcome it? You learn quickly, and you continue to move,
Mm.
hopefully forward. So sometimes in a roundabout, but always moving north.
Right. Nice. And what has been, along this 6 month journey, maybe even more actually, during the year and the 6 months, what has been one of the biggest failures that you had, and what have you learned from that?
Um, okay, so I would say, for me, in my opinion, the website took forever.
Mm,
Um, I really feel like if I had been more proactive and learned that system a little better before trying to jump into it, I would
mm,
have spent um, maybe less than a month instead of 4 months of, and those are some long nights, and um, I could have been doing other things and not sleeping, but growing the business and things like that. And so, really, what my takeaway was, it reminded me of something I already knew, which is that um, sometimes it's okay just to understand your weaknesses and to use a vendor service or a buddy or someone else, and it's okay to pay out a little bit of money for some help along the way that may take you a week to figure out something that someone's going to go, oh, well, you just do this, and then it's you know what I mean, and
yeah,
then you're on to the next thing. So
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a powerful reminder because I think as entrepreneurs we want to try to figure out everything on our own, and,
Yes,
right? Because we're most of the dads that I speak to, we're jack of all trades,
yeah,
and we could I could figure out the website, but then you end up spending 4 months on it, 5 months, or a couple of weeks on it when you could have paid out some amount, at least maybe not to develop the entire website, but for someone to get certain parts of your website going and done for you. So yeah, absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us about, we talked about fatherhood before, and obviously we're talking about entrepreneurship quite a bit. Where do you see the intersection between fatherhood and entrepreneurship?
I, s- um, I would say that they really do go hand in hand. We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier with my 8-year-old, but when we have prayer time at night, business comes up and entrepreneurship comes up as something that we pray about. They
Hmm.
understand what dad's doing, um, and they're very much, you know, in the loop, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, I believe that entrepreneurship just gives me something of extreme value um, to show them, to walk out for them, so that they can see it, and one day that I can show them more of it and how to become their own entrepreneur. Not really so that they don't have to work for corporate America, because that may be part of their path, but um, just to have those things in their back pocket and just to know that these are the risks, the calculated risks that I am comfortable with making, um, to have a better life for myself. Honestly, at the end of the day, just for them to know that it is possible to be your own boss,
Hmm.
and not that they have to work at corporate America or any fast food job or whatever they want to do. You know what I mean? You can have a paper route and be your own boss,
Right.
or or you could take all these attributes and be president of a company, whether it's your company or someone else's company. But you can still have teach them those attributes and values, and so that they take them on for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Absolutely. Awesome. So, David, we're now entering the final segment of the show, and I like to call this the rapid fire handyman segment. This is where we quickly reach into your toolbox and you provide the startup dad community with some really useful tools. Are you
Okay,
ready for rock?
absolutely.
All right. What is your number one time management hacker tool?
Um, I've listened to every single episode you have, and I haven't heard this one. And we've used it for like 2 years. So it's an app, and it's a free app. You can buy the better version, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's called Cozy, Cozy.
Yes,
And Cozy, are you familiar with it?
I am. I am.
Okay, good. So it's I love it because my wife and I can coexist. We can schedule things at the same time. You can actually say that this appointment is for me, this appointment is just for my wife, this appointment involves both of us, which
Hmm.
we use a lot. And I think she's starting to hate it because I'm using it for my business appointments too, so that she knows when they are. And she's like, my color is blue, right? And she's
Right.
like, there's blue everywhere. So I'm like, leave me alone. So, anyways, but aside from that, you can create to-do lists. You can create shopping lists.
Right.
Um, we use the shopping. We love the shopping list because it's really difficult to. A lot of people have this problem, I think, but you start a list and then it disappears or whatever. Well, with this app, you just put it in there and you can create preset lists, which is one that we like, which a lot of people, ourselves included, just go to the store and buy the same stuff over and over. So,
Right.
anyways, all that to say, it's a great app. It's not just a calendar, but it's a communication tool. and you can talk to each other even when you're not next to each other. So.
Yeah, we came across Cozy, and we've been trying to use it, but building that habit of switching from we currently synchronize our Google
Yeah.
calendar, and then switching that habit and using Cozy is a little bit challenging switching over. But yeah, Cozy is a wonderful app. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, thank you. And I think you're right. I don't think that yeah, I'm sure you're right. It hasn't been brought up on Startup Dad yet. So
Yeah.
awesome. What's one personal habit that you believe attributes to your success as a father, husband, and an entrepreneur?
I would say routine. Um, I have a pretty it's taken a little bit of time, of course, but um, of establishing what the routine is going to be, and it's a balanced routine that allows me to start the day and drop off the kids, and then I spend some time with spiritual, basically, devotion or however you want to term that, but just basically cleansing and getting your mind right for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then eating a good breakfast and proper supplementation, and it gets my body feeling right for the day. And then by 10 a.m., 10 a.m. on, it's just go time. So setting a routine and sticking with it. Now, there's going to be days, such as today, where, man, it just all goes out the window. And then at that point, you just kind of have to, at some point during the day, it's going to settle down, and then
Right.
you just basically start or find your place and just keep going. So.
Yeah. Using two boxing metaphors, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
That's
And
right.
then in terms of your today, just going with the punches, right? Just kind of
Oh
being
yeah.
flexible and moving around. So absolutely. What's one way, you talked about, supplementing yourself and eating properly. What's one way do you manage your health?
Well, we try to do this as a family, but for me, it's regular doctor visits and all that. But first and more, uh, first and foremost is I try and run 2 to 3 times a week, and my goal for the week is no less than 6 miles. And so um, there are some weeks, like last week, when I accidentally ran 13.1 miles, which is a half marathon, which is great. And then there's this week, which it looks like I might be lucky to run 6 miles. Um, so running's been good for me. Play basketball with a group of buddies, probably 1 to 2 times a week.
Mm,
Um, and of course, as the business grows, that's dwindling down. But still, the goal is once a week.
yeah.
And then just eating right and proper supplements. I, man, I used to take 0 pills, and I take about 20 to 30 pills a day now. So but it's been life changing. It has changed my mood. It's changed my attitude. It's changed, that in combination with running and all the other things I've done. It's put me in the right frame of mind to tackle the world. So.
Yeah. Now, were you able to do that running when you were working your corporate job?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No. My workouts were at night, and it's a struggle to make them happen.
Yeah.
And at night, and it's a mind struggle to make them happen at night, because when it was time to work out, it was like 8 o'clock. I'm ready to go to bed.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, this transition's been good for that.
What's one book every startup dad should absolutely read?
I would say, I hope I pronounced the name correctly, but it's Rich Dad Poor Dad
Mm-hmm.
by Robert Kiyosaki, I
Yes,
think.
I know.
Great book. I mean, obviously, it is a financially themed book, but it speaks a lot to creating a plan and overcoming whatever obstacles that may come up, and continue. And you continue and you continue until you get where you feel that you need to be. So and then within that, you get a lot of financial knowledge and value as well. So, and it's written in a very, I guess, like a story, not like it's not very dry. It's a great read, and it's a pretty thin book as well. So it was my first book.
Awesome. So, David, thank you for your time. Amazing interview. I have one final question, and this question is a little bit longer, but typically produces really powerful answers. And here it is. On the other side of this broadcast is a startup dad who, at this point, is fired up and ready to go. He's inspired by your story, by your journey, by the challenges, the successes that you had. I mean, to be able to break even in 5 months, most people don't think that's possible. And you've been able to do that, and they're inspired by what you've shared with us. But as soon as this broadcast is over, like I know, we've gone through it, life hits you, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. And, he's going to go back to the day-to-day minutia of things, and by next week he'll forget about this episode. What would you say to that dad to inspire him beyond this broadcast?
For me, it was take out a pen and paper or a notepad on your iPhone or iPad, whatever device you have, but you have to start somewhere. And for me, it was a process of mentally starting. And so I started with a pen and paper. It was a notebook. And I started with a question like, why am I here? And it begins this, or maybe some people already have that, but pen and paper and start a plan. Even if it's a crappy plan, it's still a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And you create a plan, you create a game plan, and you talk it out with some really smart people that, in my case, I sought out entrepreneurs that, were within 5 to 10 years that, in my opinion, were successful.
Yeah.
So taking what you have, go talk to some mentors, and, obviously keep your wife in the loop, and slow and steady, really, but until you're ready to make the leap. And then once you make the leap, it's game over. Just keep going.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Slow and steady, absolutely, because as dads, it's not going to happen as fast as other individuals. So
Yes.
you can listen to those stories, but you have to take the small steps, one step at a time. So thank you, David, for sharing your startup dad journey, sharing your time with us, and for sharing an inspiring story. So please take a moment, share with us where the startup dads can find you, and you can help dads wherever, right? It's not limited to Texas.
Yeah, no, I can help anybody in the nation of U.S. So, yeah, it's no big deal. Yeah, so DavidThompsonFinancial.com. It's pretty much that simple. So again, DavidThompsonFinancial.com. My email is just DT, stands for David Thompson, so DT at DavidThompsonFinancial.com. I am literally on every social media outlet that I can tackle. So Twitter and Facebook and I don't know, all of them.
LinkedIn, all that, right?
Yeah. I know on Twitter it's actually dig in to dig out. It's dig in the number 2 dig out, and that's a whole nother story. But it's a financial picture, so to speak. But yeah. So I mean, I'm really everywhere, and I keep people in the loop as well. I try and do a blog a couple times a month, and but yeah, I'd love to hear from anybody and everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that dig in to dig out. I saw that on your website, and it definitely resonates with me. So cool. David, thank you for your time again. It was a blast.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Hey Startup Dads, take the next step right now and download your free guide called 9 Apps Every Startup Dad Should Have in His Toolbox. It's only available at startupdadhq.com/free gift. Again, that's startupdadhq.com/free gift. So go download it now, and we'll see you next time on Startup Dad HQ.